Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Difficult it is for me to express to you what it is to love a human being from the other side of the veil. We don't see you in your skin, dear ones. We've said before, we see your complete, magnificent soul. We see all of your lives. We see the purpose, we see the purposes that you have come for, what you're going through, your requests, your struggles. And much of this that we see is due to something that you have created called the veil. Now, here is a channeling that we have given many times before, but not to this group and not this way. There are some who have said if there were no veil, we'd be so much better off. We would see things and we'd understand our divinity. And I say to you, if there were no veil, there would be no test. The test is not of you, dear one, or your soul, dear one. The test is of energy on the planet. It's a planetary test. That's why you come in with free will and duality. You get to see all the dark things and all of the light things and make choices of your own. Now, since you're watching this particular program or listening to it, you're probably very aware there is a struggle on the planet. There always is. We talk about the balance of light and dark and how this balance has changed, especially through the last years. That light is starting to come forward in a way, just very, very slowly, that you start seeing things you never saw before. And society itself is starting to be a little better at the integrity issue. Society itself is starting to wake up to grander truths. And that is something you're seeing universal in your country and around the world, not just for light workers. That ought to tell you something. But all of this seems to be postured by the veil. I want to talk about the veil, and I want to give you some information about it. This separation between you in your human form and that which is the magnificence of God is not a veil that was created by the Creator. You created it. You created this particular separation as an item that you would experience when you came to the planet. And in that, I tell you, since it's your veil that separates you from that which is divine, you're in charge of it. So this veil that you talk about is not something that was built and created by the workers on the other side of the veil to keep you from seeing the truth. This is something that you created on this planet even before you got here, to keep you from seeing things that would then not be fair for duality. But what is happening in this, I want to tell you, is that this veil, not only is it moving, but it's becoming more transparent. And that is also your doing. Now, because it's your doing, you might ask the question, well, if we're in charge of where the veil is collectively, will there ever be a time when it's gone? Oh. Let me take you in your imagination to another planet. And we'll call that another Earth. Let me take you there for a moment. And let's say that other Earth has had the same issues you've had. And now you realize I'm taking you into the past. A faraway place in this very galaxy where there's another place where souls are struggling and went through this and had these kinds of things and even did worse kinds of things than your societies have ever done, where they actually participated in genocide and came from a very dark place. And then they had a shift. And through the years, their veil started to diminish. And through the years, many of them, they realized their divinity. They were just like you. Their tests were much like yours. They had duality, they had light, they had dark. Their planet was different than yours, but they had the same attributes. And then one day, the veil disappeared. All of their doing, and they had worked hard for it. And it was a day of celebration. And in that time, they saw the majesty of God and the love for them, and they became an ascended planet. That is what can happen. Some of them come here, dear ones. And when they do, you don't see another humanoid, you see an angel. Having no idea. You say, well, here's this beautiful creature from heaven, and here it comes to give us advice. And what if it wasn't at all? What if it was an ascended being from a planet who had gone through what you're going through, coming here to love you and give you advice and help you out? Almost the entire world believes in angels. They seem to come to you in every culture. They seem to be historic and they seem to be legendary. What if they had come from some other place? Dear ones, there's something else to tell you. If you want to know where souls come from, for instance, right now you've got all of these souls on the planet and they keep increasing. Where do they come from? What did they do before they got to Earth? And I will tell you, some of them have come from these other places to do it all again. But when it's that kind of a soul, they come in knowing what is possible. And in that, it's in their DNA, it's in their psyche. They're positive about the future and they've been through it before. And they're the ones who will start to be the old souls quickest because they've seen it. They're light workers. And maybe some of them are you. The veil moves, and it has moved. It's moved closer to you. And that means it's thinner. As that love of spirit comes closer to you, and that veil comes closer to you, you see beyond it easier. You start to see it for what it is. A man-made, human-made separation between that which is human and that which is the creative source. Every circle of 12, we cross the bridge. That bridge, dear ones, that mist, dear ones, is the veil. So I've identified it for you. And when you cross it yet today, I want you to remember that. You cross into a place that's perfect. A place called your soul. A place that's legendary with past lives from all over this galaxy, not just here on Earth. The many yous, dear ones, are there, and we have spoken of these things before. So truly, in the circle of 12, we are teaching you to move across the veil, to be comfortable with what you see, to take back helpers, to integrate them into your lives. And in that, you are being prepared for what is going to happen on this earth someday, when that's going to be common sense to almost every human. They'll start understanding that there is a goal, And perhaps it's an integrity goal or a compassion goal or a love goal. But these are the goals that start to replace some of the other things that they thought created a good life. And there will be the understanding that the more that you can take from the other side of the veil and apply it to yourself, the more grand you become, the longer you live, and the easier it'll be for the healing you desire. So the channel is about the veil, but really it's about your relationship to the creative source. How close do you want to be? Are there some of you who would like to take the veil and paste it upon you to such a degree that you don't feel a separation? There are those who do that, and that's called mastery. And then there really truly is no veil for them, and they don't disappear in a flash or go into the skies or the heavens. They just become a human being that you'd like to be with. Loving, compassionate, a new super soul, perhaps you might say. One who leads the way and truly understands the love of Spirit, the love of God. For all that it is, without the doctrines or the rules that you're used to, one who would stand in front of you and invite you to come and just be with them, where they'll listen to you as you pour out perhaps your troubles, and they will love you all the time that you're talking. These are the kinds of people that you're going to meet and are going to be part of your society. It's guaranteed because, dear ones, this has happened before. This is not the first time I have seen this. This is why I'm on earth. This is why I came in 1989. When we could see this planet moving in a direction, and we celebrated it because we saw the potentials of what was to come. Blessed are those on this planet now, especially those who understand that they have such control over their own lives, their own divinity, their own joy factor. May they infiltrate the darkness in a way that the darkness will disappear and there'll be a quickening of love on the planet. I'm crying in love with humanity. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. I want to again talk to you about your own magnificence. Dear ones, you tend to forget the Creator inside. And that is the message I want to give you. Based upon some of the questions, even in this particular program from some of you, based upon what I know about human nature, you forget something. Or you never knew it. This is something you need to know. The human being walks this planet in an odd state. And that odd state is a neutrality that you come in with. You have free choice, and that's the way it has been designed. To go any way you want to with your consciousness, with your belief, with your actions. And in that there are no consequences after you die, and that is not what you have been told. That's part of the test of consciousness in general of humans. How will this planet go if left alone in an atmosphere of dark and light, of duality? What will it choose to do? We have answered this profoundly so many times before. You right now are in something called the shift. COVID is part of that. It is almost a reboot, a reawakening, the things that are most important to you. All of this is because humanity chose to move into a lighter vibration. We have told you this. That happened in 2012. It actually started happening a long time before 2012. Dear ones, my partner has been here for 32 years because I arrived to tell you this. I told you about the magnetic grid changing because of this. It needed to be part of a new consciousness because you're all related to the earth, to the magnetics of the planet, to the sentience of the planet, to Mother Earth itself. And consciousness was beginning to shift. The old darkness of the old ages was starting to diminish. New thoughts were starting to occur of higher integrity, of how you treat each other, of what you really truly want as a society, and the end of war. All of these things incrementally starting to change. You got to see it many years ago. I came in right at that juncture where the Berlin Wall fell down. If anybody put these things together, they would see why I have come. To guide you into a higher vibration. That's why I'm here. To tell you things you need to know about that. That's why I'm here. The first one I want to tell you is this, that as you increase your awareness of all of these esoteric things, as you perhaps even participate in the Circle of 12, as you start to cognize or believe or know or see some of the things that we're telling you, that you start to understand more about and bring to yourself, as you do that, something happens. I'm going to give you not an esoteric model, but a metaphor that is solid, that you won't forget. You have a bubble of protective light around you. The higher thoughts that you can think, the more you claim to be aware, the more you claim to understand the love of the Creator and put it on yourself and practice it in your life, the stronger that bubble becomes. I want you to think of that as a bubble of light. And as you walk from place to place, dark things bounce off that bubble. Did you get that? Now, this is a metaphor, but it's the best one I have. So as you proceed, no matter where you are or what you do, there is this awareness bubble of yours, light worker, that cuts right through the darkness and will not let the darkness get in. Especially if you are practicing compassion, if you are practicing the love of the Creator. It's almost like you are assuming and absorbing much of that which is the divine that has been given to you right at birth that you are now starting to see. Can't you feel it? I want you to understand this is a form of protection. And isn't it interesting that that protection is yours by how you think? It doesn't come from another source. Suddenly, the angels are not guarding you. The guides are not guarding you. It has come from you. Odd to think, perhaps, that it works this way, but it always has and always will. One of the questions of today: can evil entities, both esoteric and physical, attach themselves to me? Do I have to be careful of where I go or what I say or all these things? And I will tell you, dear ones, that the evil entities that might be candidates for that will see you coming and run the other way because you've got this bubble of light and they don't want anything to do with it. I want you to remember something. This is another metaphor. It is a great metaphor. Darkness is defined as the absence of light. As long as you don't have light, there can be a lot of dark things around. But as soon as light enters the picture, the darkness is erased. You realize that, don't you? If you have a black room just filled with darkness and things that go bump in the night or whatever, and you turn on the lights, they all leave because they cannot exist because of the definition. The darkness is the absence of light. Turn on the light, it leaves. Darkness does not want any part of you. Dark entities don't want any part of you because they can see the divinity coming. Wherever you walk, they leave. My partner has had this example time and time again. His first time that he presented at the United Nations in New York City, he was told by some who were supposed to know that he would be attacked by darkness if he went. He went, and what he discovered when he got there was the most beautiful, wonderful light and support that he ever had had. He went in fear because he'd never gone to New York before, never been to the United Nations before. He didn't know what to expect, and everywhere he walked, he was received and he was loved. And that is when he understood and he knew that none of the soothsayers, no matter what kind of clothes they wear or the moniker they may have or the experience they said they had, were correct when they gave a doom message. He was protected by his own light. And that has been the way of it ever since. This is you, dear ones. This is the principle of light and dark, dear ones. And so I want you to understand this and hold it to yourselves. Understand it, know it. As we say, cognize it. In other words, make it your belief. So that where you walk, you don't have to wonder for a moment whether you're in trouble from the dark side or whether something is there lurking. It's the opposite. Where you walk, they will not tread. Did you get that? And in that, you can help others. When you walk into a place where there's perhaps fear or there have been arguments or unkind words or any of those other things, you clear a path. Many times people fear things, and when you arrive, somehow they feel peaceful. Did you ever have that happen? That your presence makes people very happy you are there. Sometimes they'll come over to you simply to stand in your bubble, and you don't know why they're standing there. This is a truth. There is so much to be said for this. There are so many instances I could give you that my partner has seen this, that he knows it's absolutely true. He has no fear of where to tread or where to go, and walks forward because he has that bubble. It's his divinity, his own divinity. Again, there is no entourage of protective angels in front of any of you. This is the power of your magnificence. This is the power of your own divinity. And in this new energy, dear ones, it is ratcheting up. In other words, it is more profound today than it ever was before, because the energy on this planet at the moment is that which promotes and cooperates with light. You're going to see some things in this year of revelation, and you're going to wonder, why is it that so many dominoes are falling so quickly, whereas in the past they never did? And now you know. I just gave you an answer for something that may occur in your future. And you will start to see what my partner has been saying all along. This is not your grandfather's world. This is different. And some of the things that are being portrayed on this planet right now are part of your grandfather's world. And they will not last. And they will be shocked when they find that out. This, dear ones, is a new age. It's an age of enlightenment, a promise where light is starting to win. Be part of that. Understand it. Thank you for so many bubbles of light who are listening to this and watching this. Bless you for understanding that you are more than you think, that you belong to something far greater than you ever thought. I am Kryon in love with humanity, and so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. So indeed, it seems like this entire program for this Healing Wednesday is about help from the other side. This may seem to be a review, but you can't hear it too often. The other side of the veil is a caring energy. And it's not what you were told. When you take a look at that which you are told about God, God is not necessarily that approachable. God does not then feature information about a grand soul that you have that is packed, filled with systems of help. The knowledge you get in major religion about God does not tell you about the entourage that each one of you has, truly, that is there to watch you with its hand held out to you so many times if you choose to take it. There have been so many questions come to this program about being in the circle of 12 and feeling and knowing that you are being healed, and yet when it's over, it all comes back to some reality where you're not being healed, or you're struggling to maintain that information and that feeling and that multidimensionality in the circle of 12, and you snap back to a reality, and it's just not good enough. The answer is, dear ones, you cannot turn this on and off. There is a wonderful healing due to you. In other words, it's there and it's ready. It's on a shelf that says, your name, be healed. And you're picking it up in that envelope and you're holding it while you're in the circle of 12, and you put it back in the envelope on the shelf and you leave. And what I want to tell you is that for you, there is so much more here. And that so much more is the ability for you to decide to cognize and believe that when you leave the circle of 12, the entourage stays with you. Now, some of you have said, well, I'm trying to do that. So many will tell you, stop trying. And instead, call upon Spirit and say things like, dear Spirit, I'm having trouble with this. Please let the entourage stay with me. Give me a sign they're here. Let me understand and feel they're always with me. So when I go to the circle of 12, I understand it's no different than when I'm walking around my home. It's no different than when I'm sleeping, that they're always there. There's so many who doubt that this is even a reality. After all, how many of you learned in your Sunday schools or any other places, or even in your meditation chambers, or how many of you were taught that you have angels and guides with you all the time? There is still this 3D idea that you've got to pick yourself up and do something in order to garner that which is the grace of God in your life. I want to ask you, if you've had parents who loved you, really loved you, and you could feel their love, if you were fortunate to have that, I'll ask you this. Did you have to beat down any doors for their love? Did you have to climb stairs or do activities or or whatever in order to get them, get their attention? And the answer is no. All you did was show up and you could see the love. Hopefully you had some parents like this. They're out there, dear ones. Many of them. What is the difference between the love of a parent and a child and the love of God for you? And that is this, that the love of God for you is 100, 200, 10,000 times as much. But it's the same compassionate love. And it's in the same way. You might say, dear Spirit, take my hand. And in that you are giving permission for Spirit to do all of these things, for God to be part of your life in a personal way, instead of that which you've been taught. For those who are having trouble keeping the feeling of the circle of 12, it's because there is a 3D construct that you've been trained into that says that you are not magnificent, or there is no angelics that come with you. There are. Not only that, they're always there. You don't even have to call them in. I'll give you a premise I've given you many times before. The majority of humanity comes into this planet, and in comes with them all of the angelic help they'll ever need. All of it is there. When they are small, when human beings are babies and children and toddlers and growing up to the years 4 and 5 years old, sometimes they're very aware of that. They have little personal friends. They even name them. Some of them keep them from being afraid of the dark or the monster in the closet. And these are all things that children know about. But they're real. And then as they grow older, they go away. And sometimes that's because their parents say, well, no, honey, that's not really so. And you know that they're really not there. And so it's trained out of the children. Some children, they know better and they keep it to themselves. They'll say, okay. But when their parents are looking, they're still talking to them. But in general, my point is this. They come in with you. You don't have to call them in. So right now, where you sit, and in the circle of 12 later, I'm going to encourage you to see that in your own way, that they're with you now. And who is it that's with you? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Understand they're assigned to you as helpers. They're multidimensional. They're angelic. They're beautiful. They love you. And they're there to assist and help with healing, with fear, with attitudes, with redoing who you are. And they're there for your synchronicity. And that is the biggest thing I could tell you to keep you from stepping in the potholes of life. But they've always been there. I'd love to give this channel again and again and again, because I want you to feel filled with beauty, understanding, and the peace that goes with this, that you don't have to try that hard. All you have to do is release the old programming that says you have to try that hard. Again, for those of you who feel one way in the circle of 12 and you exit it, and then you feel another, this is for you. That when you get up from the circle of 12, having felt perhaps a healing energy, I want you to stop right there and say, thank you, Spirit, and thank you, guides, for being with me, because I need you now. Stay with me. Come with me. Be with me. I want you to claim it every day. Every morning you get up, to yourself perhaps, you can say, thank you, guides and angels, for being with me today. Continue the healing that I know that I deserve. That's, you might say, that's in the queue for me, that it's going to be there. And start getting used to it, dear ones, that there's more here than you think. And it's here because of a love that Spirit has for you, especially right now in these troubled times. Claim it. It's yours. Practice it and change your life. I'm Kryon in love with humanity. And so it is.
Love of God.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. And so the subject seems to be love. It's my favorite, you know. There's more to it than you think. I'll be speaking perhaps some of these same words through this month, talking about the incredible love of that which is God, which is truly the creative source of all things. Perhaps you should erase what you've been told, or what you think of how much God loves you, even that, because it's not completely true. God loves you more than that. That's the truth. Hard to understand the kind of love that comes your way. What if I told you that this you call love has a completely different name, or perhaps a completely different perception from us to you? What if I told you that within your DNA there are attributes of love in your DNA? What if I told you that part of the double helix itself vibrates a certain way with love? Now, that's a little different than you were told. For humans, love is an emotion. It's a great emotion. And it's an emotion that comes and it goes. And what I mean by that, you receive it and you give it. It comes in, and you're also able to send it out. This is an interesting concept because not all emotions are that way. Some of them are. In the case of love, you can transmit it way, way beyond the room you're in. In so many of the other emotions you feel, you can transmit them to the bubble around you, but not much more. There's something about love. What do you know about love and compassion that you've been told esoterically now for many years, perhaps even the guests on this show? That it lives in the field, that it can be transmitted long distance around the world, that you can love somebody dearly and imagine that they're receiving it, and they will. That is esoterics at its best. It also tells you that this thing you call love is multidimensional, more than an emotion, dear ones. I'm going to give you an axiom before this channel finishes, a little about what it is. I gave a channel earlier. In other times, and I gave it many times, that started to explain the attributes of some of the things that you have. Love is one of them. We've told you about things in the past that were hidden in plain sight. We've given you some of the attributes of your soul, but none of them, nothing I've ever told you, is as powerful as this one. Let's go back to your DNA for a moment. The DNA that you have is enormous. You have no idea unless you study it. There are billions of pieces to it. And it's more than just simply the blueprint of the body. That DNA of yours, in its enormity, carries attributes of your past life. These things are not all contained, for instance, in your brain, as you thought they might be. So if your DNA carries attributes of your past life, what else might it carry? It carries your lineage. It carries that which is the marker that says how many times you've been on the earth. The DNA that you have, the multidimensional part, is the biggest part. Scientists have wondered why it is that the biological part of DNA, the genes, only occupy about 3% of the many billion parts that they had. This discovery was revealed in 2012, almost like the rest of it was an instruction book for your life, to how to put them together, how to make them work. Oh, but there's more than that. That's where all of this information is stored. And among that information is a process, a big one, that's triggered by love. I want you to hang on here for good. This isn't a new premise. This is the love month. So I want to give it to you. And I want to give it to you in a way you can understand. There are some things in biology that you'll say have cascading effects. That when one thing happens, it triggers another, and it triggers another, and it triggers another. Because the body is balanced, and it wants to stay balanced. Now, these cascading effects are often things that you hear that are negative, and they have to do with poor health. The one I'm going to tell you is a cascading effect that is the most positive effect you ever have heard. And it starts right in your DNA. You might say you have receptors in your DNA for love, both for receiving and transmitting. The human being is a wonderful transmitter of compassion and love, because the multidimensional antenna you have, dear ones, is magnificent. Magnificent. And once you cue into it and know that it's working and know how to receive and transmit, something happens. I'll tell you, when you start receiving that love from Spirit, in the way that we've given you even today, and you relax and understand that you are part of all of creation, and you relax with the incredible love that's pouring into you, and you take your subconscious and put it out of the way no matter what you've been told, and it starts to pour in through the greatest source that ever was, it allows you to then pour it forward. That is to start transmitting it. When those two things happen, the reception and the transmission of this power called love, not the emotion, but the essence of the Creator, when that starts to pass through you, there is a cascading effect that is triggered in your DNA. And let me tell you what it does. It starts to heal you. Everything you've asked for, the problems, the fear, the anxiety, the biological issues, all of it starts to snap in place. What if I told you that this cascading issue is called health and balance? If you want health and balance right now on this planet, start transmitting love. Start receiving love. And that is what happens. It is the catalyst for everything that you've asked for. There's another one. You know this one is good too. It's an emotion. There's one that I'll put it in category 2 because this is category 1. And it does the same thing, only it you can feel right away, and it's called joy and laughter. It disarms fear, joy and laughter. It disarms hate and anxiety and all of these things. And you can feel it. You can feel the release of it. Now amplify that 10 times, 15 times. You become a transmitter of love. And your whole body starts to change. Aches and pains start to go away. Diseases you've had start to diminish. You start to realize that you're living longer. All of these things are biological. All of them. And they're right in your DNA, and that's part of what all of that 90% of DNA is that has been so mysterious. There are processes there. Processes you may never discover as a human being that are esoteric, that are multidimensional, and that are so real. Ask somebody who's had an awakening, that's gone from despair and worry and trouble and started to receive beautiful love and then start to be compassionate to others, something happens. And their whole body starts to react. Some say they shake with the realizations of what they didn't know, and the cascading effect begins, and it starts to heal them of all that is wrong. That's love. Love is used uniformly, and it's often thrown away. Well, I love that person, or it all starts with love, or there's nothing but love, and all of this. But that is a truth, and it came from somewhere. It's in your DNA. If you are serious about any of this, especially in this love month, this is where it starts. It is the catalyst for all things. If someone says, well, I'm having trouble with this disease, or I wish I could get rid of this fear, or this or that, and we say, if you'll go to love, it starts the process. And they'll go, no, I don't think so. I've got to do this, and this, and there's a process here and there. You say, no, we're telling you where the cascade starts. We're telling you where the source of the healing begins. I've given you a truism today. And some of you will know it's real, it's true. It's part of you, it's the process of you. And are you surprised that the love of God, the Creator, which is the greatest thing that you could say is in the universe, is also part of your healing and part of your cascading DNA for health? Would you be shocked, or would you say, oh, now I understand, and it makes sense? These things should make sense, dear ones. That you are part of the creative source, that you're part of the love that is yours anytime you want. The door is open. It's already there. Now take it. I'm crying in love with all of you for who you are, what you've done, what you're discovering, what's about to happen. And so it is.